Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here. We're here with another In the Hot Seat with the Usual Suspects. And joining us tonight, special guest host, Dank from Dank Comics. How are you, sir?
Very good. Very, very honored to be here. Because, you know, Evil and I, we have a long-running we've been communicating. We've been friends before he had his channel even. And that was an interesting. I love that whole story. So yeah.
Yep.
It's good to be here.
Nice. And past Dank, we got Mr. Chip Getler making his triumphant return.
Hello, gentlemen.
And below him, we got the guy with the fattest stack of comics in the land. Rob,
Maybe.
how you doing?
I'm trying to figure out why my camera changed when we went live.
And we got the other bearded Avenger over there, Nick's Kix and Comix.
What's up, everybody?
Hold on.
And of course, we have our man of
Gary
the
B.
hour.
Oh.
We have Mike from Evil's Comics. Mike, how you doing tonight, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's everybody else?
Very good.
We are doing great. So, Mike, the way we like to start this off, first, we're going to let you give a little intro of who you are for anyone that might watch it on the rewind. Obviously, the people joining us now know you, but we get a lot of views on the rewind. So, give a quick introduction of yourself and your channel, and then we'll highlight the chat.
Hi, I'm Evil's Comics. No, I'm Evil Mike. Basically I do reviews. I do have some unboxings, some other little stuff, some chats and stuff like that. But mainly I do reviews. I read a lot, and everything I read, I try and do a review on. And I do them for a lot of reasons. Number one, personally, me, I kind of use them back and forth. If something came out a long time ago, I go back and look at my own review, But that's pretty much what my channel is. It's just reviews, and that's about it.
Nice. Well, we'll get to the questions here in a sec. Let's say hello to the chat first. Ruby G, another bearded Avenger. How are you this evening, sir? Chop and drop. Thank you, buddy. Always great to see you. Tylock, have a good night at work, buddy. We see you got to go do it. And thank you for catching us on the rewind. All right. We got Jimmy G, the comic guy. The new guy has been checking out the channel. Thank you, Jimmy. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, it's pretty fun. Go check him out. We got Joe from Anaconda Comics. Good evening, sir. We got Brian LCS. Good evening, Brian. How are you, bud? And we also have Sith Lordley, Spine Ticks in the house tonight. Thank you, Sith, for coming out. And we're gonna get this going. We got Southpaw Brad. Brad, thank you for showing up, sir. We have Digger Jim. Hello, Digger Jim. How are you, buddy? And we have a comic book forum. Naman, how are you doing, sir? I almost messed it up and said Manan. But how are you? And let's get right into it. Let's start asking you some questions and getting to know you a little bit better, Mike. So, first of all, like most of us, comics were a part of our childhood. When did you become enamored with comics? And tell us a little bit of your history with I'm sure like most of us, you got in, you got out, you got in, you got out, you got back in.
Okay, so mine started when I was like 4, and it was my parents. And back then, I'm a lot older than I look, but I'm in my 40s. So in the 80s, like comics were a lot cheaper, and it was like the 75 cents and $1 issues, and they would just buy a stack full, and we would go on these road trips. And in Texas, it's like, just going north from where I am in Houston, it's a journey, like 2-3 hours, you're in another state, another 5 hours, you're in another state, and you're still in Texas. But so comics were like their way to keep us busy. It's before digital age and all that, even before handheld gaming, pretty much. And that's kind of what got me into comics. I was into comics in the beginning where I wasn't even reading. I was just looking at the pictures, and I was coming up with my own stories kind of thing. And I remember some of those comics back then, but I want to say around the time I was 8 was when I really started, like, you know, collecting comics and getting into comics. And my story is different. I've never stopped comics my whole life. I've continued reading, but there has been periods where I've trimmed my pull list down, like, incredibly, where I was only picking up, like, maybe just Batman and Detective, and that was it for, like, maybe a year or something like that. I've had stretches like that, but I've always read comics. But comics, I mean, they're like, I try and tell people it's not even just comics, it's stories. I'm into TV, movies, games, you know, board games, anything that has lore, that has a backstory. I've always been attracted to that, and that's kind of my love within comics. But that's it.
Nice. Well, obviously, you identify a lot with the DC. Most of us, you know, we latch on to certain characters when we're young. You know, you got Nick and Rob with Spider-Man. Spider-Man was big for me when I was young too. Also Conan, obviously. But what attached you to Batman and DC as a kid growing up?
Actually, I wasn't a big DC fan growing up. Batman was always there, and DC's always been there. We had Super Friends and stuff like that. It's not that, but to me, DC was kind of the weaker side of comics growing up. Like, I was more into Spider-Man and X-Men and Fantastic Four growing up. And I'd say all the way until I was adult. It was around, like, my adult age where I started, like, really appreciate it was like I started tending to go more DC versus Marvel kind of thing. And it's never been like that I like one or the other over the other. It just depends on the pool, like who's got the better storylines. Because I know, like, certain times in Marvel I've been really big into, and then it's flip flop back over to DC. But
Nice. So, give us a quick breakdown. Top 5 characters.
Batman, of course, would be, and then Joker and Batman. But I mean, I don't know if you're counting the same. But let's go Spider-Man. Let's go Mr. Sinister, and let's go. I'm gonna say Batwoman. I'm a big Batwoman fan.
That's a good choice. So let's get into your Evil Comics name. Why Evil Comics? Did you have a tendency to root for the villains and the bad guys in the comics? Is there
Yes.
a bigger story behind why you're called Evil Comics, or did it just sound cool to you?
A lot of reasons. Okay, so my nickname Evil Mike has been there since I was a little kid, and it came from my mom. I wasn't exactly the best of kids growing up, so I was in trouble all the time. And yeah, so one of my friends had just heard, like, they overheard the term my mom using, you know, like evil, and then Mike came after that, and it was just this neighborhood thing where everybody started calling me Evil Mike. But I didn't really use it in life until I'd say 2000s. It was I started using it as a gamer acronym. I am a big gamer. I play, you know, Xbox and Sony, but like that was just my gamer tag. And the thinking was, well, you don't want to be beat by Good Mike, or, you know, I mean, like, so I kind of went, you know, I mean, like, you know, I mean, Good Mike isn't the guy on the battlefield that I'm afraid of. It's that guy named Evil Mike. Who's that weirdo, you know? No, but there's a lot of other.
Camping Mike.
There could have been something to it, though, to being little bunny foo-foo and teabagging them on the field.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I was big into teabagging when that was popular back on, you know. No, but even evil has, like, deeper meaning. Just like the acronym behind it, like the EVIL, it stands for every virtuous love. Like, and that's kind of how I live my life. Like, as long as you have some kind of purpose, some kind of passion for something, kind of thing. But ta-da! No.
You got deep all of a sudden. Wow.
Okay, so I'm into villains, and I always have been, and there's deeper meaning behind it. When you get into stories, you know that most people identify with the villains because they're usually the humanistic, more characters. They usually have more, you know, more plot, more ploy in the world versus the heroes kind of thing. And it's done, you know, it's done for that reason. okay, so, but that doesn't mean we have to identify with them. That's our choice, you know. But like, in my case, it is. You know, I mean, being a GI Joe fan, I always like Cobra more than I like Joe. You know, Transformers, Decepticons are always cooler than the Autobots. You know, and I'm not saying they both didn't have, but it, you know, it just seemed like even in Star Wars, like all the villains are so much more flashier, so much more, you know, grand scale type of thing.
Yep.
But I kind of like that part about my name too, because I have a lot of people that just have the problem saying evil, and I kind of like that part of it too. Just, you know, because I wear like my shirt with pride, like in public, and I've had people like take it the like we're like I've been at the comic shop and I've had people be like, I'm not gonna buy Evil's comics, I'll buy some Saint comics or something. And it has nothing to do with that, you know. But you know, I mean,
As
I like
Daredevil.
right. But I like that part of my name too. So
Hey Mike, what's your what would you consider your go-to if you're someone saying, hey, I'm looking for a good storyline to read, because you are a story reader? What would you say is a good storyline to read?
I would ask them, are we talking like indies? Or are we talking like superhero?
Whatever. I mean, yeah. What do you consider your favorite?
You know, Mike is going to say Sweet Paprika.
Yeah, bam. Yeah. See, somebody knows me. Somebody knows me. Okay, yes, that is like, okay, it's weird. I want to say that's my top pick for 2021 is Sweet Paprika. That's my choice. That's my preference. Wow. I want to say, hands down, story, art, consistency of every issue. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about a comic book that I passed over. I judged just like everybody else, and I was like, nope. I went back to it. I gave it a try, and I fell in love with it. Yep. Okay, but it's kind of like that tie. I read Batman as Detective, and in my opinion, Batman has been really good, and it's kind of, I can't really like judge it based on one issue because it's an ongoing, like, continual story, you know.
Yeah.
So do you have one storyline that you continually go back to that you reread over and over again?
Generally not. Like once I generally have, I'd say in comics I've only reread maybe 3 or 4 different storylines. I plan to. There's a lot of stuff I want to, but and now it seems like I have more access to. But the Dark Knight Returns I've read twice. Watchmen storyline I've read 3 times. The Killing Joke I've read twice. But as far as like everything else in comics, that's about it. But there's certain storylines I want to go back because, for instance, I read them as a kid, and I had that child perspective reading it, and I prefer to read it as an adult and see if it changes the perspective that I had of that certain read or something like that. Because I did read a lot of adult stuff back then.
Yeah, I wonder what would it be, because I'm new to comic book collecting and reading as well myself, just here. But you being someone who's so young, growing up with comics since the age of 4 or whatever, it's just, man, it's got to be pretty crazy to be able to go back and reread something back when you were a kid and like have the things memory kicking off, and then I was being like, I have a totally different perspective on this comic than I did as a kid. That's got to be pretty cool. So.
There's some stuff specifically, like we all talk about grails and stuff. My grails recently are low budget, but mine is the 52 Batman run, and I read like bits and pieces of it, but I'd like to read it as a whole and stuff like that. And some of the stuff I skipped on purpose, like the whole Court of Owl things. Don't ask me why, but
that's the stuff to read. It's the last half of that run. It's not what.
I don't know why I've done that.
You just need to read from the beginning of it until Commissioner Gordon becomes Batman. That's all.
Well, see, I've read all that. Oh, I've read all that. See, I've read.
Yeah, that's Commissioner. You don't need to read that Commissioner Gordon stuff. I mean, in the Robo Bat suit. The only cool thing about that was that semi truck.
Lately, I've wanted to reread everything old because, for instance, I haven't had the capability of going back and finding older stuff, and it seems lately I am finding the for instance, I love Gary B. He might not know this, but I love his channel. I love what he does, and I love like that he has that
Don't make his
passion
head
for.
blow
I was-
up.
I saw-
No, no,
thought
no,
for a
no,
second-
no,
Jeez.
no, no, no. And
His
this
head's already
isn't.
big
If,
enough,
if
damn it.
anybody knows me, I don't kiss butt. You know, I tell people how it is. You get my real reactions. I don't hide anything. This is who I am. But okay, so like I've been a Conan fan my whole life, but it's more like cinematic Conan fan. You know, I never really read the comics. I don't even think I knew Conan was a comic until maybe I was 15 or something like that. And I never had anybody experience. It was like, yeah, it was based on the Sumerian or whatever, the Chimera. I can't even say it right now. And then Gary V's like,
He was like a dagger in the heart.
right? Oh my God.
Killing me.
Okay, so no, but I did grow up reading. You know, I not reading. I saw the movies. I'm a huge Arnold fan. So Red Sonja and both Conan movies I love with passion. But then on top of that, I did watch the cartoon and stuff like that. But finding someone like that has the passion and has the knowledge, something like that, got me into it.
Yeah.
I started reading Conan and Red Sonja. And like honestly, out of the two, I'm kind of leaning more into Red Sonja. I don't know if it's but I think that just has to go with writers. I think, and maybe Gary will attest to that. That you know, maybe Conan has been badass like certain arcs, and there's some arcs where a writer gets a hold of them, and it's just like not your version of Conan. I don't know.
The original run is fantastic, but we're not making this a Conan episode.
Let's do it.
Nice
Fuck it.
try. Nice try. Evil, right?
No matter what
How to take an episode to Conan in
Conan.
3 simple steps.
Yeah.
Now,
I like Gary.
To go back to like,
I ask you about though that was probably one of my most wanted to ask you questions tonight. So I want to get to it before because we got 5 of us asking you questions. So
right.
Obviously, like you said, tell us again what evil stood for, right?
Oh, you want to hear the okay?
The acronym, and then I'm going to ask you the question.
Every virtue is loved.
Right now, you're a guy obviously that has a lot of love, a lot of goodwill coming your way in karma. But you started your YouTube channel and you got integrated into the community fairly quickly. So I just wanted to ask you, from one community person to another, what has getting into this community meant to you, and has it changed you in any way since you've gotten on YouTube and taken this journey with the rest of us?
It means everything to me. For one, like I think each individual, because each one of us is our own creator, right? And the way I look at my channel, it's like my baby. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's my creation. It's like I put so much thought and time and effort. And, you know, it's but that's kind of how I view my channel. And
Effort? We're supposed to put effort into this stuff?
Hey.
Man.
And
We've been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
We'll have a meeting after, Rob. We'll come up with a new plan.
Okay.
You can't
Keep
tell
going,
me
Mike.
never.
Sorry.
Okay, so okay, for those of you that don't know my channel's a little different. I for one, I don't give no Fs. Like a lot of people make fun of the way I come into my videos. Like, okay, for instance, I'll go into somebody else that's here, and Dank kind of mentioned this, but Dank is one of my inspirations for being a channel. Like, and he's not the only inspiration. There was me. I had been watching comic book YouTube since comic book YouTube. Well, you know, since comic book showed up on YouTube. I'm a comic book fan, but Dank was kind of the inspiration that, like, finally, you know, because I had wanted to do my channel on a lot of different things, but he was the one that kind of pushed me. He was like, bro, I can do that. Look what he's doing. He just has this cool little song and he's sitting there talking and I can talk. And so I want to say he was literally the like, if you could say Dank's invisible hands were behind me and he was like, do it, you know, that was, but my channel's basic, and I've kept it basic on purpose. I've done upgrades, but it's things that you'll never see and stuff. My cat, like and I've left clues, like if you go back to my beginning video, oh God, they were horrible. But my camera, yeah, I know.
No. Mine were done pretty poorly in my garage at the time through They were not great.
We've all seen yours, Rob.
You were just blinded by the beard back then.
Santa Claus in it. Okay. What do you call it? No, but I still keep my channel basic because what I'm doing, I'm just reviewing and talking about channels. I've had to because I don't have the ability to buy as much as I used to before, so I've had to change it to more digital format, and that's been a different struggle for me. But because the way the way I do my reviews, I would show off comics and stuff like that. And I've gotten heat for the way I do my reviews and stuff like that. I love that part of it too. But going to the other side of the question, has it changed me? Because I'm not I don't even think I'm a small channel anymore. I don't even see it that way. And it's funny, I stopped looking at views. I stopped looking at my sub count. I don't even know where I'm at right now. I want to say 280, 279, 271, something like that. But my goal on YouTube was I only have 3 real people in real life that will physically talk to me. So anybody other than 3 people was kind of the goal. I succeeded, you know what I'm saying? So has it changed me at all? No, I don't walk around with
I don't mean in a conceited way, just in a welcoming way. We surprised
yes.
how inclusive the community is.
Oh yes, I do. I mean, that's one thing. It's and I try to even branch off and get other people into this community because it's such a welcoming. I mean, I've said this before to other people, and it took me a little while to recognize it because I am not just a part of the comic book community, but I'm also because I'm a gamer, I'm into board games, so I do watch other stuff on YouTube, and but I can say at all those other communities that I'm a part of, and I was big into Funkos. I mean, I used to be on Funkos Live all the time, where they were chatting back and forth to me, and okay, so out of all them communities, the comic book community is for one, it's just giving crazy. It's not just and it's not, and you don't get this because I've had real people that don't know anything about comics and they're why are these people doing AOKs kind of thing? And I'm well, it's what it stands for. It's an act of kindness. There's no straws attached to it. There's no strings. There's no contracts. And it's. I always say it when I do AOKs. I love them because it's this. For one, it's a way to shout out people. Bro, look what this dude out of the kindness of his heart sent me. I kind of. I don't know. I love that thing, and I always do where I had 2 or 3 people to the shout outs kind of thing. But this community is it's crazy.
And you had
one
2
of the
AOKs on your channel that really stood out to me. One when you got your first flab, that was a great AOK.
Yeah.
And yep, and when Miss So sent you all the amethysts.
Oh, that tripped me out.
Yeah.
She sent me the whole run. I was and then I got one recently from Mastodon Comics, and he sent me I think 50 issues in the Excalibur run. It's pretty much all half of the run already done.
Awesome.
That to me is crazy. You know what I'm saying? When I got that, when I got Danks everywhere. I mean, if you've seen that AOK, and it's funny because it somehow got recycled a month ago, where everybody thought Dank had just sent me that or something like that. I was nah, that happened a long time ago.
You know how the YouTube algorithm works. It's a mystery.
Yep, exactly.
No, but for one, I try no, I used to say this to other people. After Dank, I think people were trying to up the scale. They were trying to see if we could get me to try or I was man, it just got bigger. But I was man, because after that, I've gotten some pretty crazy AOKs. I mean, the fact that anybody would send me a slab, and I understand that you can get slabs for 30 and 40. That's not the premise. You don't buy. To me, in my world, I don't buy slabs to not showcase it or not sell it kind of, you know what I'm saying? It has purpose on some level. So for someone out of the kindness of their heart to send you one, especially because Dank had found out I'd never had one in my life. Then he didn't know that was just the whole reason behind it. And to me, that tripped me out. I've never found any kind of community like that.
with you and Dank, and maybe you both can speak to this. You guys kind of did Dank you suggested you knew Mike before YouTube, or had reached out and talked to him before?
Yeah. So it's
There was some
actually
inspirational, yeah.
well,
ahead,
actually,
Dan.
so first time I spoke to Mike, right? He reached out to me through Instagram, and he messaged me something so vulnerable. Okay, so he was like, "Hey man, I've been like responding to a lot of your videos, and you haven't been replying back, and I'm just wondering like if I pissed you off or anything, blah blah blah." But actually, every time I reply to everyone, actually, I mean, well, but I would write these very thoughtful, long replies to his answers, and he didn't know apparently. So YouTube somehow was like holding it back, and he said like, I feel like he was like, oh no, this is my memory, right? I feel a little embarrassed about this, I don't want to bother you, blah blah blah. And I was like, no, dude, if that's happening, I need to fix that because that's messed up. Because I actually like I very thoughtfully reply to everything you write. And then we found out YouTube was holding it back by accident, and then I contacted them immediately, and they were like, oh, we're gonna resolve it. And then Mike was flooded with replies from all these other channels
Yeah, it was
too.
like-
It wasn't just me,
I got
Um,
I got a bunch from like 6-7 months ago. I got
Yeah.
flooded with like 200
Yeah.
replies to stuff I never
Yeah.
saw before.
Yeah, I do the same. Yep.
But
Yep.
And
what I
you
found
feel
so-
bad.
Yeah.
No, but what I thought was remarkable was that sort of vulnerability to say, hey, you're not like he wasn't angry, it wasn't demanding, it wasn't like, it was just sort of like, hey, I'm just letting you know, and you could do with it what you will. And I was like, man, this dude, he's willing to be really vulnerable, and to me, vulnerability is strength, So
I was gonna say it's
I
kind
would-
of brave too to reach out.
oh yeah, that's why I we communicated a lot, and when I saw it was Evil Mike or whatever, I thought that was funny. A lot of people don't know, but it's supposed to be pronounced Evil Mieki, but he lets people say Evil Mike so that you guys don't get confused. No, I'm kidding, but I always thought that was interesting because I didn't know what was behind that, so it was interesting hearing your answer because I know hate travels much better on the internet than love, But if anyone studies your channel, there's like no hate anywhere, So it's sort of like, what's going on? And yeah, because it's actually just a lot of love in the channel. I also wondered why you don't reread stuff. Like stuff you're reading now, right? So that's very interesting to me, right? Is there something about memory or the ephemeral nature of experience?
Me-
Like what compels you not to reread? Because I think like we will reread stuff a year, 2 years later because they're so good.
Yeah.
What makes you
For
hold
me,
back
it's-
from doing that?
For me, it's and I don't do this with a lot of stuff. It's like movies, TVs, games. It takes with novels. I read about 200 novels a year. And that's including all the comics, and I watch a lot of TV and movies as well. But that kind of what it goes into. I'm into so many different things. I normally don't have time to go back and like for me to go back and reread a comic right now, it would mean either stopping like the new stuff that I have, which I mean right now I think I have like 50 books on my list.
Wow.
But but not only that, but it is memory. Like most of it, I retain. Like I mean, I can remember like reading Jurassic Park, the original novel, and I haven't read it since since '96. And I mean, one of my favorite scenes is that the T-Rex in the water with the where they thought he was an island. I mean, it's the way my mind retains like knowledge. I don't know how to say it.
I forgot to also say like what compels you to allow yourself to be so vulnerable actually, because a lot of dudes wouldn't write that kind of stuff because they feel like it's too humiliating for themselves. Like I might have an idea about the answer, but I'm wondering if you could tell the audience, like, because I think to me, I swear to God, vulnerability is strength. When everyone acts like a tough guy, to me, that's a weak ass person, and I know it, and I know I can destroy them, right? But when I see a dude that can be openly vulnerable, I want to know, where did you get that chutzpah to go there?
I think it's like a multiplicity of things, but honestly, I think it was the way I was raised with my dad and I grew up in a male heavily family, um, but I think it ties into that, man. I'm kind of the runt in the family. I'm not small small or anything, but compared to all the males that have come before me, my dad, my grandfather, I'm like short and tiny compared to them. Um, but growing up and listening to like the way they talked and everything, the way they came off, it was pretty much like, men don't cry, like men don't show, and it was just like, and I lived that life for like, I want to say half until I got into high school, and I started noticing that, it was like the real strength was actually, being vulnerable, being able to cry in front of other people, taking that, like having a fear of like talking in public, and then taking that step and talking in front of a mass amount of people or something like that. To me, those are the, that's what real strength is about, or what, like we read all these stories about like supervillains craving power and stuff like that. And honestly, like, that's real power right there. Like, it's also me. I'm just an open book. I'm not, a lot of people say they're not fake. That this is just me. I don't have to hide anything. I don't do anything generally bad, so I don't have that kind of, but I don't have any hate. I don't have, and that's as far as race, anything. I don't have any like negatives, I guess you can say. That's like the whole DC to Marvel. It doesn't apply. I like both. Like I like comics, but that applies to like almost everything in life, like Matchbox, Hot Wheels. So I'll take either one. Star Trek, Star Wars, up. I'm good with both.
Is there like a YouTube Hot Wheels community? And if there is, do they feel like you're cheating on them? Because you're kind of.
I was actually like, okay, so I've been on YouTube like 3 times, and I actually used to stream like playing Destiny for like a year, and like I've had like a bunch of followers before, way more than I've had now. Especially streaming, doing gaming and stuff like that. Yeah. But like Hot Wheels, I have some followers and I interact with, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, because I interact with, like, for instance, like movie reviewers and stuff like that. In real life, I work in college. I that's kind of one of the things I did. I wrote for the University of Houston, and I did movie reviews. I did that for like 3.5 years. So I still, and they kind of merged, and now they do YouTube movie reviews. So I still keep in touch with them, but that's what I can say. Our community is a lot different because they're not so friendly. They're not so open. They're not so, hey, reach out and say hey to me, or, it's not really like that, and that applies to like every other, community. Like, say, Hot Wheels, and I really, Hot Wheels are like $1, unless you get like a treasure hunt or something like that. And even then, they're not that crazy expensive. But that's like, say I was missing one car or something. Unless I went on eBay or something, no one, out of the nicety of their heart, was, they might have 50 hanging in the wall behind them, and they're like, hey, Evil Mike needs one of them. I hope he finds it. Yep.
Yeah.
Or I got one, $50.
Yep. Right? He's like, hey, I can help you, bro. Here's my eBay page.
It's funny because, Mike, I actually, coming from the gaming community as well, I know exactly what you're talking about with that whole, it's very much about themselves and what they can do, what they're doing, and not so much outreach to the community. I was also part of a cigar community, and there would be, and it's very much like the comic book community, where I would come home some days and my mailbox would be just filled with freaking boxes upon boxes. I had to go out and buy freaking big igloo coolers just to keep the cigars and type of thing. It's because that's how they were. They were so giving. And that's why I love this community as well. So it's good that I'm glad everybody, feels the same way, because I think it's awesome.
So Chip, what led you down the wrong road to be such a spiteful bastard?
It had to do with you and your good looks. That's all it really is, man. I'm jealous.
Yeah, baby
It really
face
is all it
Nick.
boils down to, man.
Okay. Okay.
Careful, the more you compliment Nick, the shinier his head gets.
So you
Well,
look
you
at
know.
that.
Yeah.
Nick is 72 years old, everyone. Like, so
Hey,
when we say
I-
baby face, there's a reason.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That guy from the Eternals was based on me. That's it.
Yeah. There you go.
So, Mike, what I want to know,
The Korean guy.
the Korean guy, yep,
Yeah.
the cook.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about Saturday nights on Spine Ticks and how you gel so well with those guys, and what leads you to go there week after week?
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Spine Ticks is a wonderful hangout show. No, but that's all it is, a hangout show. And there is, we do comic talks and we do little segments and stuff like that. But why I gel so well, it's really the other guys, it's their, for instance, it's our ability to not take anything personal, because if you watch the show, we take low jabs and high jabs at each other all the time. Like, if you watch the show, I don't know how many clips I've been made into, and but none of that bothers me. It's all, we all know it's all in good fun, and even if people, hop in that don't know us, and we don't take it in that fashion. And all of us, we roll well together. Tylogs, Sith, Geek Out with Roscoe, Dave, Phil, all the guys. It's just, especially because it's surprising, because when you see us, if you just freeze framed our panel and you looked at all of us, and if I had to explain that what we do on Spine Ticks was going to come out of those guys' mouths, like, you probably wouldn't believe us. Like, if you look at Phil, if you look at that's kind of what I love about it,
It's the little rascals all grown up. Dude, why are you getting heat for reviews? You said you were getting heat for digital reviews or something? What is that about? What are you talking about?
I've gotten heat for both. I've gotten heat on spoilers, because if you watch my channel, I don't.
It's pretty obvious you do a comprehensive review, though. You'll
That's
spend
kind of my
18 minutes
point.
with one book.
That's it's not like I could, I think at first, when I first started doing the channel, I was jumping the gun, and I think it was Dank that pointed it out, that because here we do like DC Tuesdays and then everything else on Wednesdays, and I wasn't aware that in certain parts of the country that y'all were only getting books on Wednesdays. So I was like pumping out reviews as soon as I got the books, and everybody was like, "Well, hey, we haven't gotten the books yet," There was that part of it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that was the other part, was I got a lot of people that would like come watch my stuff, and they were like, "Oh, you spoiled the ending," and I was like, "Well, why are you watching a review on a book that you haven't read yet?"
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I've even done like an evil chat on it, because I got so much hate mail like in my IG. Like, it was like for a little while, like when I first started my channel. But I love all this stuff. It's to me, see, I don't, for one, hate is a good sign. That means you're making it.
Yeah.
You're making it. You're getting big. Somebody hates you. Like, I remember my first thumbs down. Like, I think I celebrated more when I got my first thumbs down, and I don't even think I remember my first thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, it's a memory now, because we don't have thumbs down anymore. But what a healthy way to look at thumbs down.
I still have them pop up. Yeah, I got somebody who thumbs down every video I do, even AOK, other community members. They thumbs it down.
The way I see that, that's a super fan.
That's Gary B's
videos.
They're hate watching.
They watch every one of your videos. They want to reach out to you with that special kiss, and that's the only way they can do it, because they can comment like everybody else. They can thumbs up like everybody else. Nope, they want you to get their attention. Like, up, thumbs down.
Oh man, what a healthy attitude!
So they're shooting themselves in the foot because they're helping your channel out by doing it.
Yeah, it's all engagement. It's all interaction. That's what I'd love
So-
going in those channels and watching people bicker back and forth on something, and it'll be some guy, he'll be talking about a comic, and then he'll have some people, oh, you're this, you're this, and they're hating on the guy. I'm like, you're just you're just paying for his channel right now. The more time you spend in the channel, the more every comment you're feeding his channel. Like
it shows me that you would spend time watching something you don't like instead of watching something you like. Like
Exactly.
like you, I like watching movie channels. I'm big into movies. One of the reviewers I've followed throughout the years is John Campia. No matter what show he's been on or what company he's with, and he's been on his own for a while. But no matter what his opinion is, he's fairly big. There'll be like 100 negative. You don't know. I'm like, why are you watching them then? I just don't. I don't understand the mentality. Go watch something you want to watch. Why would you watch?
exactly.
And I think we live in a culture, and Dank will probably speak to this, where people think that hate and stuff gives them credibility, but it just makes you look like a fool.
Well, did to every
Yeah,
college
Dan.
radio DJ who hated a song by a popular band.
I mean, look at all the Rotten Tomato scores. I mean, you can't believe that all those are real, legitimate, actual scores. Like, I mean, some of them surprise the hell out of me. Like, I'm the same. I don't get it with people. Like, why? If you don't like that person, or if you don't like what they're talking about, you don't like what they're showing, stop watching them. I mean, unsub them. I mean, you don't even have to unsub them. Just
We gotta leave this comment up all night. I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about. Joe's
Yeah.
He's old. He doesn't know.
Oh,
No, but you know how like
wow.
He's the only guy
One less
old.
up for
Come
Chip.
on now.
you know how you can watch a movie
I
that's like
hope that Joe goes and
99%.
unsubs you now.
He's over there like,
He'd be smart.
Oh goodness. So
Rob, the guy that hates you, he's like he probably has like a black beard with a little white, like with
Yeah,
a tiny
yeah.
bit of white, but he looks just like you. He's
I
just like
know.
so pissed. He just
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
it's actually this guy.
I know. When actually, it's funny is because I know when it started, and after which video it started, and so I know it's somebody who used to follow me because they were a fan of PGX or are a fan of PGX. And when I switched and first put my first video out where I said I will never use them and started explaining what was wrong with them, that's when I started. After that, I always had at least one thumbs down on every video.
I mean, there's people that make money off hate watching. Like they know you're gonna hate watch them, so they exploit that. And
I know where I got
You gotta
mine.
go back on you a second.
Hey.
Mike. About your reading. Okay, because I'm an avid reader myself, but there's some novels and there's comic runs. Like when I'm doing those Conan cover a day videos, I'm rereading that book again to revisit it every day. I love rereading them. Like you were saying, it gives me a different perspective because some of them I read last month and I'm reading it again, but some I haven't read since I was a kid. And some I'm reading for the first time because obviously I didn't have all 275 growing up. But there's novels I've read 5, 6 times, and it's not like I forgot the story. I just love it so much that every time I'm reading it again, I'm living in that world again and just enjoying my time in that world. You don't ever feel that need?
Yes and no. I don't know. Like the first two things, I agree with you. Like because you read them so long ago, and those. But like, but there are some times, like I will say, it depends on the book and how much. Because there's certain books, and I'll go through it, and I might be talking to someone. They're like, "You didn't catch this, this, that," and I'm like, "Oh crap, I didn't." And I'll go back and reread it for those measures or something, because some books are like that, like where they leave a lot up to your imagination, and maybe someone caught, because that's one of the big things I like about the community. That's one of the big things, the reasons I came back was, but it really just depends on the story but that's kind of like why I'm still a Batman fan, because it's like, that's why, like, I love because I don't just read Batman, I read his whole dang family. You know what I'm saying? So I'm entrenched in Gotham City. I'm living in the damn sewers pretty much. How much I read out of Batman. But that's kind of why I continually read Batman, is because I love that lore, I love that myth, that kind of thing. Now I have done that with games and movies and stuff like that. Of course, movies like TV shows, I do it with new viewers. Like I'll rewatch a series that I like when I find someone that hasn't watched that series. And I like getting their reactions and seeing if they picked up the same Easter eggs or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Books, I think I would like, but there's just a lot of stuff I do want to reread. What's up, Kenny? Man, I haven't seen Kenny forever. There's a lot of stuff that I do want to reread though, like the Batman Nightfall series, the Death of Superman series, because I read that back then, but it's like, it's kind of like on some of that stuff, it's fuzzy. I could tell you one specific series that if you know DC, most everybody in DC hates the series, and I read it, and for some reason my memory is really fuzzy on it, but it's Doomsday Clock. Everybody hates Doomsday Clock, and I can remember the first 6 issues, and then after that it gets, and I remember the ending of the story, but there's like 4 or 5 issues in between there that I don't really remember what happens. I know it's stuff like that, but like for instance, like, but no, I mean I'm not against rereading. It's nothing like that. Don't get the perspective, and it's not that. And I 100% agree with the. Like, going back and reading something due to, passion or love. That's why I have reread The Killing Joke and Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. I just haven't done it a lot. Like even now, I'm trying to read stuff that I never read like back in the 90s. That's why I'm collecting that Excalibur run. I read X-Men, but I didn't really read the whole X family back in the 90s, like X Factor and X-Force. I kind of did Generation X. I did, X-Men.
Good. So you need a full run, is what you're saying? Just
No, I pretty much got one now. No,
Damn it.
But that's kind of what I'm doing now. Is I'm kind of in, because growing up, like I said, it was like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, that kind of thing. So I never really read Cap, Iron Man, Hulk. I know about them, and a lot of that has to do with all the animated and games, and over the years. Because if we had a trivia challenge in that, like I've seen every Marvel animated thing since probably like '84. I've seen every DC. I probably played every game that's come out from both companies, kind of thing. So a lot of these characters that I've never officially read, that's where I have a lot of the knowledge of. But that's what I'm trying to do now, is I'm trying to read stuff that I didn't read back then.
Now,
So
what's your favorite age to collect? Because you are putting together some, like for me, it's bronze and copper. Those are, I just love them.
copper.
Yeah, that's kind of,
Copper.
80s, 90s, that's kind of, it's not to say that I don't like golden and stuff like that. Usually my buying base, is really bad. I'm at the low end of the spectrum, and I try and be smart about stuff. So, but see, I don't, that's like me. It would be cool if I could ever put any grade of a Batman in my hand, Batman #1 or Detective Comic #1, right? And the main grail. But I don't think I'll ever get it. But that's the thing about me, is I'm fine with the reprint as long as I can read that story. And so grails and keys in my mind are a little different. Like I got a key. My keys are like jokes to be That's my key, is the first appearance of Captain Carrot.
Yeah, but there's nothing
most-
wrong with
Great
that.
key.
That's
Great
the great
key.
thing about comics. They can be
Oh,
so
James Gunn will
personalized, right?
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. And that's kind of like, it goes back to the, that's why it doesn't bother me when I meet people that are specific Marvel fans or specific DC fans, because there's good stuff on both sides, and there's so many to pick from.
Because like one of my favorite things about watching people's polls is my poll list is usually very unique from anyone else I watch, right? So you and I rarely ever have a book in common. I don't usually have very many books in common with Rob or Jimmy, or when Jason was buying with Jason. I'll have a couple in common with Chip, but it's great because I think it speaks to the strength of comics right now. Is there's almost literally something out there for any taste,
Yeah,
and
there is.
you can't say any of it's bad. It's it's all subjective. It's all what you enjoy, and it's just great to have that variety out there. I mean, do you think comics now are stronger than they've been in the past?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's all like I think that's perspective, right? But in my opinion, right now, I mean, we're in that age where I mean, and I think it has to do with those key factors like the pandemic and stuff like that. Um, but I think right now, collectibles in general are just a hot thing. But comics, I want to say, are like top of the board. The fact that the NFTs, they could have went any other fashion. They kind of started out with comics first. Um, but no, I mean, it's not to say that comics are going to be at a high point forever. I mean, we keep having problems, and that's okay. I mean, it happens. But I want to say right now, compared from 80s, 90s, 2000s, we've had highs and ups and downs. But right now, it's been like 2 years going. It hasn't slowed down yet. I think it would be a lot. I mean, could you imagine if it was right now without all the restrictions and stuff that's going on? Like, I mean, could you imagine AppleCon with all the vaccine problems and stuff like that? Like, I mean, there would have been so many more people there, especially all the different people that have gotten into this community recently because of those events. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Like the comic community kind of had the opposite reaction to the rest of the stuff in the world when COVID hit. A lot of stuff suffered, but the comic community comics started thriving. People discovered their inner geekdom again and just went back to you're at home and you found something that was a love when you were younger and you reconnected with it.
I agree, but because I know Dank's got a similar story that due to those events, that's what led him to looking up his older comics, checking out those 90s books that he had. Like, hey, are those worth anything? And sure enough, guess what? They were, it's funny because I remember back in the 90s when that whole craze was, and that whole thing where like, oh, all comics are going to be worth like millions of dollars. And it's funny, they're not worth millions, so I mean, there's some, I mean, it's not to say that there's not some.
Because their print runs were so high in the 90s.
Right. Oh, they went nuts.
So 90s was the era of high print runs, and now it's the era of store variants. You had the gimmicks in the 90s. Now you have the store variants.
Yeah.
It's always just for the times, But even the variants, that was an adaptive thing. I think those didn't really take off, in my opinion, until COVID, and all of a sudden people are buying more online. You're not going to shops. But
I mean, look how many store exclusives popped up for each individual. I mean, because I remember when it used to be like kind of the big events were store exclusives and stuff like that, especially when it came to the two big ones. But like, I will agree that like the past 2 years, it seems like every comic that comes out, has the possibility of getting a store exclusive. Or, like how many different artists are attached to, and we're talking about some big name people out there now. Like,
being an avid reader, I'm just gonna throw this right at Rob. I want Rob to ask you the question he asked everybody, because being the reader you are, I was actually really curious about this question. So Rob, hit him with yours.
Given that the universe is infinite, different question. Marvel and DC, they come to you, Mike. They say, Mike, we've been watching your review show. You've got some very good, valid points. We need you to take direction and lead a creative team on one of our titles and fix it. What title are you to lead a team on, and what would you try to bring to that character that's missing or got lost?
And you said it has to be DC, or can I go Marvel?
No, whatever comes.
Marvel or
Okay.
DC. It just has to be one of the big two.
All right, so I'm going Marvel, and honestly, I feel like this mofo's missing right now. But Ghost Rider, boy, like, and I don't know why the heck we don't have a Ghost Rider comic right now, like what the F, but yeah, right now I would bring like a team of people, and I would have like, I don't know why we don't have like a Ghost Rider team going. Like, I mean, we got Johnny, we got Robbie, we got.
It
I
could
mean,
be
come
the new
on.
Midnight Suns.
Right, and it could just be a team of Ghost Riders riding around staring at people all weird, with their pennants stare. No, but no, I mean, I would love, like, honestly, in my opinion, and I know we're getting there because they keep hinting at it, but I don't understand why we don't have a main Ghost Rider run right now. So in my opinion, that's what I would do. Where I would take the story, I honestly back to the more mythical monster side. Like, that's great that he's riding around New York, working on mobsters and whatnot. But no, I want the whole, like, the hell side of it. I want the whole, like,
Right.
him to go after somebody and that, and make, because right now, look what Mephisto's doing. I mean, I'm not even talking about the MCU or anything like that, that he keeps hinting that he's going to pop out. I'm talking about the comics, and he showed up in some stuff recently, like Spider-Man. I mean, like, who's holding these guys accountable? Like, why isn't there a tribe, of Ghost Riders riding around staring at people? No, but yeah, that would probably be my run right now. Because
And I think they just confirmed, Feige just confirmed that Ghost Rider in that car, Robbie, is the fastest thing in the Marvel Universe. I just read an article the other day saying that confirmed that he was the fastest thing in the Marvel Universe. So we'll see. I guess he'll soon come too. We'll have maybe we won't have Nick Cage playing him, but maybe somebody else.
Also,
I
your
want Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. He's my favorite. Although
Mine
I
too.
did love Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gabriel Luna is a great Robbie Reyes, and I would love to see him reprise the role.
Me too. I thought he fit that role so well. Like, he did a great job.
And that was a great answer because, Nick was talking to me beforehand, and he wanted to write Spider-Man with Nick Spencer. Everyone thought that was a mistake.
That's my favorite.
But
Yeah, that was good. We haven't heard a Ghost Rider yet come out on there. That's good. Instead of focusing on one of the majors, awesome.
Well, okay, like, if you know my pull list, and most people don't, okay, so, like, right now, I want to say, like, I pick up, like, 30 comics every week, and most of them are digital. I still do pick up some comics, like Vinyl, Sweet Paprika, of course. Like, I've been picking up Red Sonja because of America. Okay, so, on Marvel side, like, I would be into Marvel. I've tried to, like, I hopped on Spider-Man at the end of that run, which was kind of okay. So, but I've been sticking with Marvel with Spider-Man recently, and it's, in my opinion, it's been getting better. I know it's not what the fans want, but it's been getting better from where it was at the end. Because I think they put y'all through the ringer with that whole run. Like, man. Okay, so I feel like Marvel's just missing some of those characters that I would be reading regardless. Like, I mean, if there was a mainstream Ghost Rider book, I'd be picking it up. I mean, if we had Blade on an ongoing title in team format or by himself, I'd be picking, I mean, we don't really, right now, on Marvel's side, we don't have anything mythical or monsterish besides, like, maybe Savage Avengers or, something, but it's really still not that, but I feel like we're missing that, I don't understand why we don't have those characters either.
Well, and I'd love to see a resurgence of the monster books. I just miss the old monsters,
Werewolves.
like, where you could have Godzilla, or you would have just all these great old monster mags, War Monsters as well, and On the Prowl, Creatures on the Loose. I think I love the comics today, but I also think there's a missing magic to some things that are out there that hasn't been recaptured yet. That's still waiting for somebody to grab the reins and run with it.
I will agree.
I mean, Marvel's clearly way too tied with Disney and the movies, basically, and that's like dictating what's happening with the comics, I think. And the reason we're not going to see Mephisto, I keep telling people for years, it's because China banned the
Yeah,
devil,
China.
and Disney wants Chinese money, and that is why we're not seeing Mephisto. That like, and everyone acts, and if that wasn't for China's ban on the devil, Mephisto would have already appeared, because we're underestimating the greed and foolishness of Disney / Marvel.
So what you're saying?
I agree. I was a Marvel
So what
fan,
you're saying
and
is-
I became. Yeah.
Rob froze.
I was
Oh.
gonna say no. I was waiting for Dank to finish because I kept cutting him off.
No, it's cool. I was gonna mention that Evil Mike, you're really into lore, of course. We can tell you're into iconography. That's why you set up your camera angle and your headset to look like a Universal Soldier, to remind us of Van Damme in that wonderful film. And so I was wondering, and you don't seem to be loyal to this team. You're not gonna like keep reading a character because you're loyal, like sports teams, like people that are fans of sports teams or whatever. You're into the lore, right? You're into the story, right? First. Why is that? Why are you into story? Because I would say it's not always like that, because like there's a lot of comic book fans that are kind of sports team fans, like they're sort of loyal in spite of the bullshit. So how did you kind of avoid that? Like why? What compels you to avoid that? Like why is story so important to you?
It's hard to lock down specific answer. I can say some things that might tie into that. Like for one, I've always been drawn to word of mouth. Like for instance, I love Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have Star Wars tattoos on my body. That's how big a Star Wars fan I am. Okay, but I am not currently reading Star Wars, and there's a reason for it. And I'm talking about high adventure or mainstream. It's kind of word of mouth. I'm waiting for that dude to come along, that comic book channel, and be like, "Oh my God, there's that new that villain that's appeared in the High Republic that's killing all these Jedi. You gotta read it." There hasn't been that excitement yet. And a lot of that, like right now, my indie reads and stuff like that. I go through the list and I look at stuff, and I pick up my own stuff, but I can say, when some person, when they've read it and they're like, "Oh man, this was great," and I already accept their, or, what do you call it? But it's kind of like that with me. Like where when a certain story gets so big, because I've done that with Batman, I've done that with Spider-Man and stuff like that. Where I kind of like, I've read Batman continually, but there's parts where like I hopped off and I might have been reading this person more than that. But it's just depending on what's going on in the story. But overall stories, it's usually word of mouth. That's movies, TVs, games. I will say that, that kind of, and it's not. I don't go for reviews. I don't go for reactions. None of that. None of that has any sway into. It's Dragon Ball Z, fellas.
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay,
no!
so I've got a power level beyond 9,000.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so all right, so
fucked up the metaphor.
Or no, it's Boba, bro. It's Boba. All right, so no, but honestly, that's what sways me to certain storylines. There's certain comics that you can't tell at all of us that do pick up current weekly new comic books that there's not stuff that you pass on. And then when you get home and you're watching, our family, the YouTube community, and there's like, "Bro, you didn't buy this book. You missed that book. Oh, it was the best read ever." And guess what? You're right back in your car, heading back to the comic book shop, like to get that I will say that for me, I'm not swayed by sales and spec and stuff like that. There's characters I would love to see on the big screen and stuff like that. And I'm not against any kind of collector. Any kind of collector. Even them people that term dirty flippers. Guess what? There's a place for them too. Now, I might be in hell. No, I'm playing. Okay, so I have a place for everybody. I have love for everybody. So no, it's not Yoda.
I think that's clear in how you're called evil but there's nothing evil about you. You know, it's sort of, and then
Well,
how you
that's
actually,
the tie into evil, because like a lot of people can't do this or say this, or
but
that's the
also
whole
like
evil.
people's top 5 top characters or whatever, usually all heroes. You know, so like yours is half evil people because they kind of represent the totality of like what experiences, you know, because like evil characters usually they don't have the resources, they're not super powered, you know, they have to like struggle and suffer and have the gall to go against God, you know, these humans that go against God, and that's sort of so admirable. And the Star Wars example is really interesting because, you know, everyone's like specking on Star Wars, and you're on Spine Ticks, you know, right? And you're just like, well, no one says it's great. So until they say
Well,
it's
okay,
great,
that's like there's a good example there, because like Sith, he reads it religiously. He reads all Star Wars, right? And I get to listen to him tell the story and stuff. So I've been hearing the story. So it's not like, you know, and of course it's like a brief summary of what's going on, but still there hasn't been that moment from me. It was like, oh God, I got to hop on right now. I did at the beginning of War of the Bounty Hunters. I picked up like the first 3-4 issues and I was into it.
That's
And then it
when I
was like,
jumped off.
yeah, it just kind of got stale for me. And I
No,
was like,
now, because they're just killing it. Now it's got to be like 12 titles.
oh, that was the other
that's
thing.
the
It was
problem.
like,
It's
it
too
was like
diluted.
56 tie-ins. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of the other thing. And I don't know why Marvel does this, because they don't do it all the time. And I have, and when I was reading the comic, but no, but there's been times where you know, I mean, that term FOMO, of course, that's going to happen. There's going to be stuff that you miss out on. There's definitely stuff I missed out on. I mean, I could say Walking Dead. You know, I watched the premiere of that show, and I was like, "This is the comic. Let me go to the comic store and see if I can get the #1." And when I went, you know, when I went to the comic store, it was already like, I think selling $100 raw or something. Like, I was like, "Nope, not for me." You know,
That's
I mean,
right.
I did go back.
Plenty of collected editions.
I
That's
did
right,
go
I'm
back
so-
and read it. I read the like compendium or whatever, like where, I mean, I read the Omni, but and once something gets so pricey, I kind of just, I'd either get a reprint or find another way to read it. I kind of have a limit, like, and my limit would, you know, my limit's very low.
There you go. Stars Goes Rip. Yeah, no, that I'm sitting pretty on my Wheel of Time spec. I got the Wheel of Time comic books. Yeah,
I love, man, I'm loving that show.
So,
Hey,
being
guys,
a
I don't
comic,
mean to cut it short, but I gotta go. I gotta catch a plane in the morning. But Mike, it was a pleasure, man. I love seeing you on your reviews. I love seeing you in the community, bro.
that's
And
right. I'm already here, Nick. Why aren't you here?
I wasn't given the memo that everybody arrived Thursday, so I got there Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, it's very comforting to me to know that you're just 4 hours away from me down that way.
That's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of people don't know this, but there's only like 2 other Texan boys that I know of, so they got a special place in my heart, like automatically.
Appreciate it, though. Dank, pleasure as always. Rob, see you
Oh,
tomorrow.
man.
Indeed, sir.
1 o'clock at the airport. Gary,
I'll be.
see you guys later. Have a good
thank
rest
you,
of the
Nick.
He's safe.
See you later, Nick.
Yeah, you gotta
See you
eat the
tomorrow.
mushrooms. You gotta time the mushrooms just right for the for the flight. Yeah.
Oh, he did that right now. That's why he's hopping off at the hour mark. They just
Yeah.
kicked in.
Now, as we're winding down here, Mike, I can't. We can't end this because I got to know, because you've been a reader your whole life. Your favorite writer ever. Your favorite artist.
Favorite artist would be Todd McFarlane. I mean, there's some like, I mean, his '90s runs were some of my favorite growing back then, like Spider-Man and Batman, and you know, starting image with Spawn. I mean, I can remember I was there day one, you know, because of Todd. But right alongside him, right behind, you know, was Jim Lee. There's something about both artists. Like Jim, it's funny because I like sometimes I try not to buy him because I have so much Jim Lee in my collection, and I still come home and I'm like, damn it, I still bought Jim Lee. Like right.
Well, that's the secret to DC, right? Anytime they release an issue that has 75 covers, always just pick up the Jim Lee cover. That's still pick up.
Right.
That's the one that's gonna.
But Evil has a very interesting. is that video still up about you and Jim Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. He's got a whole thing with Jim Lee. It's a very
Story.
complex, nuanced relationship he has with the Jim Lee. So
Pissed off.
what is with you and Jim Lee, huh?
He was just mad. I took some comics that I wasn't supposed to, and I didn't know about it, and he took them comics and he threw them. He was like, "Nope, I'm not signing them." He was avid about it.
Wow. A little artist hippie bit, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't aware, but that I wasn't aware that the artists even did this, that they or writers, that they had stuff that they wouldn't sign and stuff, and it was like a run of Batman that he just did not like. I know why now, because I went back and read it and I was like, oh, okay, I get it, but I don't know.
I thought you were trying to get him to admit to some of his Wildcat stuff or something.
No, it's Batman. That was surprising, and it kind of. Yeah, it was Frank. That's why. It's because it was Jim Lee and Frank Miller, and it was during the time when Frank Miller was doing the whole like spat on DC thing. So that's really what.
Goddamn Batman, motherfucker! Remember? Goddamn Batman.
Yep. And he threw my books on the ground. I still.
He threw it on the ground.
Oh yeah. Because I had it was a 3-book limit. 1 was a graphic novel, and 2 was single issues. And then the single issues were floppies from the graphic novel that I took them, and I handed him the floppies first, and he took them, and he asked me a question. He was like, "Hey, what do you do in real life?" And I told him, and then he looked at the comic, he looked at it, and he was all like, "I'm not signing that," and he literally like threw it aside, and it landed on the floor.
On the ground?
Oh yeah, he tossed me.
Throw him on the ground.
I mean, he was mad, and like they made me like, because he was there with the crew. It wasn't just him. It was like Scott Steiner and Jim, and
oh my God,
like a couple other people, and they made me like step out of line, and I had to go talk to like the producer or whatever, or like whoever kind of organized everything.
Oh my
and like
God, that's worse than your video. I didn't know that detail. That's oh my God.
Yeah, man, there was a lot that goes into the story, because at the time I was married. I'm divorced now, but I was married, and I was like, I had to camp for like 8 hours, so I camped overnight to be at that signing because I didn't want to miss them. In Houston, we got a lot of people here, so I mean, like signings. I mean, and if they post like for a signing at a store or something like that, man, and they give it a week's advance, you're gonna have like thousands of people that show up. So I had to talk my wife into letting me stay there overnight, and it was only like a block away from where we lived, but. Like at that time, that's all I brought him, and he did not want to sign any of those books. So I was already going home empty-handed because they were on the other side of the table. It wasn't like I could even get my books. I was like, "Can I get my books?" And they were already like moving me along, and I was like, I mean, no. But eventually, like as I was walking out of the store, like all defeated and stuff, Scott and one of the producers and somebody else, they grabbed me and they were like, "Hey, hold on." And they went and they got Jim to sign all the books and stuff, even though he was all pissy. But I had pictures of before and after, like pictures of like, because there wasn't supposed to be any photography past a certain point. So I got like a picture like where I have like the camera on me and Jim. And then like after that, I have pictures of the the books that he threw on the ground.
Not wanting to sign something's one thing, but throwing your property on the ground is something altogether different.
I've heard like,
man, he would just say, "Look, man, I have something personal against these particular books. Is there something else you would like me to sign?" But to rage and take what personally belongs to you and throw it on the ground like it's his right is something different altogether. And I don't care. You as a creator should just be thankful that people care enough about what you do, that they show up, taking the time out of their day to meet you. And care enough about you signing their book. There's creators out there that would kill for that are humble enough, that would just appreciate you just being there.
You also have the rarest Jim Lee signed comics in the world now.
The Rage sign.
And he did. Well, supposedly he doesn't sign those books at all. Like I have checked on the Simpsons, and I've never.
You're one in one, yo.
They've never.
Let's go to Heritage Auctions. Let's do this shit.
Right?
No one else has these books signed. No, I mean, you know, and it goes back to the fact, if I would have known, I love Jim Lee. I mean, I stay, even after he did that, and this was years ago, I still buy his stuff. You know what I'm saying? I might have stopped following him on certain social media platforms, but I still buy his stuff, kind of thing. Like, it didn't deter me from buying, like, you know, like who he is in real life didn't deter me from, you know, appreciating his art and stuff like that. I mean, because we know there's douchebags out there, you know. They might still be able to draw, though.
Man, I feel like he screwed Alan Moore hardcore, to be honest. I'm saying it. Jim Lee fucked over Alan Moore. And
No.
it broke Alan Moore's heart, honestly. And
It was supposed. Sorry, I was answering. It was supposed to be a $100 signing. It was supposed to be a $100 signing that I paid for, and I got refunded the money, so I didn't have to pay for it.
Oh, wow.
Because they didn't want you to sue the venue.
Yeah, that was all the production that did all that.
Right.
Because I got a little more. Like, I got a little more. It wasn't like I just left with my signed comics. No, because of that, I got a little more. Like, I got like, they gave me like a DC, like it was like a limited print run, or it was like they gave me one. It was like 2 different comics that I didn't bring that they gave me that Scott signed and Jim signed and stuff like that. So it wasn't like they, you know, they took care of me after they saw it, because they were like, oh, like, man, they got quiet because it wasn't just me by myself. They were fans. Like, there's a whole line
horrified.
of people.
Wait, what year was that?
This was back in 2017, 2000, like right before 2018.
Oh, so not even that long ago.
He's a grown ass. He's
he didn't come in. I mean, he only comes here once every 10 years. Like, as big as the cities as we are, we don't get a lot of the big people that stop here. Like, our con's not one of the more famous cons, and you know, like, so for one, I've been waiting for a long time for him to come here.
Damn.
It's like Todd. I can't remember the last time Todd McFarlane's been to Houston, or like a lot of people go to Austin, but just not Houston.
You inspired Comic Journey. He's going to make a Jim Lee video now.
I got one up.
I can't wait to see that pop up on my notification.
Comic Journey with his hands.
And guys, we got to get Comic Journey to 300.
Oh yeah, you kidding me? He's not even at. I don't understand. You guys should be way higher. Like,
you want to give him a 300? Why? So you can blow a gasket?
Yeah, we'll get another good rant out of it. Yeah, but I'm sorry that you had that experience, though, dude. That's terrible when you're trying to meet someone that you kind of idolize a little bit and you're looking forward to it, and they're just that dismissive and rude. You got a better attitude about it than me, because I would have probably started shaking with anger on the spot. Like
I felt destroyed. I felt destroyed when it happened. I didn't want to speak up. I'm not that type of guy where I was like, because I could have been vocal. I could have fought him back. And normally, like, if this would have been anybody else, that's where that part of evil ties into. I don't take no shit. But, like, I mean, because he's somebody that I idolize and something like that, it felt like, for one, I disrespected him because, like, he was hurt. He was offended, you know. Like, I should have done the research kind of thing is the way I felt.
Oh my God! What are you, the Buddha? You're the Buddha? What's going on?
No,
what is this?
Like, no, but at the end of it, like, looking back at the whole experience, I mean, now I have this great story to tell. I mean, because I've met a lot of other famous, like Doug Hazelwood, man. I've sat there and I got to talk to him for a whole, like, almost 24 hours, and it was, on one side it was like pathetic, and the other side it was badass, you know. But like, no, but I like that side of it too. That because of that incident, because of that bad, you know, incident, you know, I got the story. I get
right. Oh man, I would have been right on YouTube immediately after the show talking about that shit.
Oh, I would have. Trust me, I would have had film, and if it would have been a different story back then.
He was also one of my heroes for the longest time. Like, and I'm Korean, so he means a lot to me, you know. But Not anymore, unfortunately. I mean, since I heard
I
that
started-
story, honestly,
I
like no,
started-
like
I
I don't want to blame you, but I can't see him that way anymore. Like he's not a hero anymore to me. Cause
I started looking at him at different, because it wasn't that one incident where I just like, because I used to like follow his Facebook and his Instagram, I mean, but like it was stuff that he was just doing in real life. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I really like what he's doing in real life. I like his art and stuff like that, but I mean,
no, I read
gonna-
Alan Moore's account of what happened with him and Jim Lee, and I was just like, dude, man, that is so heartbreaking. Like, and I encourage everyone to read the interview, and because Alan Moore, I don't know, man, like he gets a bad rap, but he loves comics. He was doing great stuff in the late '90s, and he got so screwed like double time after with DC, and then Jim Lee let DC screw him again. And it kind of, I think it took Alan Moore out of comics. And unfortunately, to me, I actually blame Jim Lee for destroying, like, killing Alan Moore's love for comics, honestly.
passion.
And
Yeah,
no one says that shit, but you know what? It's there, yo. It's between the lines. It's all there. It's all there. Look it up. Google it.
Yeah, I don't begrudge him
Restorative
books,
justice. That's what I'm talking about. Restorative justice, yo.
See, now that makes sense what Comic Talk Weekly is saying. If an artist doesn't want to sign a book, that should be posted. And that
I
should
have been
be
to
an
others.
artist in the venue to post, look, these books, please don't bring them.
I've been to other signings and they post it like on the website and they post it at the front door as you're walking in, like, hey, this they won't sign this book, and it's usually like 2 or 3 or something like that. But like, I mean, there wasn't any kind of notice. Like,
Yeah, I heard Rob Liefeld's doing that kind of diva stuff now. I don't
I
know
know
if
Todd
that's true.
Todd McFarlane, like I know he has that, like where he'll do like I think where he'll sign anything where he's attached to Venom, but anything else that anybody else has done, he won't sign. Like, and for some reason, I don't know why you would do that. Why would you bring like? I don't just get the thing. Like, I get that he helped create Venom, but like, why would you bring somebody else's art to get him to sign?
Yeah, like I wouldn't bring him an Eric Larson Venom.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, I don't know why you would.
Yeah, you'd bring him.
But that's
when he
on.
did.
I don't get that. Like, why would even? But supposedly it's a big enough thing where he had to like put that on his website.
There you go.
I heard.
Bravo,
You guys heard about Stanley would sign anything. It didn't matter. Like he would sign things from DC. Like he didn't, cause Stan Lee, he was just like, it's just they're just there to like, love you. Why would the fuck would you, shit on them? Yeah, like Stan Lee didn't care if he had nothing. It had nothing to do with him. He would sign that shit, cause it's the fans. Like
He lived like a rock
they
star.
came
He
there
was-
for
he
you. Like
was-
why would
he
you?
was signing bras and meat, and no, he didn't care. Like he was living life like a rock star. That's how they should live. Like like I don't know why they're so weird about it. Well, I mean, come on, it's us. I mean, when we have like we're paying for famous people's pictures and prints, and it's us.
Right, yeah, we're their paychecks.
Hmm.
I mean, if we don't support their art and demand their writing, then they're off the runs. All right, so we've been going about an hour and a half. I've got to get to bed here soon. We're gonna wrap this up, and what we're gonna do is we'll start with Dank or Rob, me. You get the last goodbye, and then we're gonna sing ourselves out. And you're on the show, so you got to sing "Awkward Ending" with us. It's part of the program, so you're tied to it now contractually. You didn't know that when you signed in, but
It was on the back. It was on the back side of the contract in
Right.
fine print.
there we go. But Dank, what have you got coming up, sir?
Me coming up, I'm gonna do a mask therapy where I play a special therapist that does deep therapy for heroes in mask, because in their civilian identities they can't really get to the core of their issues without revealing who they really are. So I'm a very specialist therapist that deals with. So you'll see Batman but wearing civilian clothing, or Spider-Man or whatever, collaborating with promiscuous time traveler to get this going. And
Nice.
yeah, what else? I don't know, I'm doing a lot of random stuff that actually scares the crap out of me, so that's exciting. I don't know, I'm
Yeah,
really
but that's
excited about that.
fun.
Oh, and multiverse meditation every Saturday. Multiverse meditation, where we do a guided meditation, tap into the multiverse, and I believe because we are the comic book community, we are more primed to access this and possibly shift reality. And I can explain this in terms of spirituality or psychology or game theory, right? I can explain in every fucking way, but it works. So.
Nice. Rob, what have you got, sir?
Oh, the usual stuff. This weekend, I'm out at C2E2. That's why I got the digital wall behind me. So we'll probably do at some point some kind of haul video for whatever I decide to spend too much money on while walking the floors of C2E2 and some of the signatures I get. But Saturday, there's no live Slab Hub, but there is Son of Slab Hub. Will be airing at the regular time. I got a bunch of CBCS Golden Age books back from grading, so popped them open, and that video will air. And Monday there's a mail call video, and the usual stuff.
Very nice. As for me, guys, I want to remind everyone in the chat. First, I want to say thank you for coming out and watching our program tonight. We had a great, fantastic time with Mike. But I also would let you guys all know that every single person that's been on the show tonight, their links are in the description below. If you're not subbed up to them, please go click their links, give them a sub, check out their videos, at least give them at least a watch on something and see if they're for you. Everyone here makes great content. Happy to know all these guys on YouTube and share space with them. So thank you all for being here. Mike, any closing words for you, sir?
You can find me on Evil's Comics or on, Spine Tick Saturdays. I think this week we'll be hanging out with Roscoe on his channel. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I do reviews and stuff on my channel and goofing off on Saturdays. It's pretty.
And as we always end these things, awkward ending. Awkward.